Hello, this is John the Vintage Fisherman. Today, I've got a beautiful, well, it's dirty, but it's still beautiful to me because I love these Ambassadors. I don't love the right-hand ones as much as I love the left-hand ones, but it's a 5500 CL3, so it's a 3-bearing, instant anti-reverse, well, kind of. See right there? So it's got an unusual problem. I bought this reel from a friend, and I didn't give much for it because I've got plans for it. I'm going to do a bearing upgrade. Don't know if what ABEC rating those are. I've got a drag upgrade. I'm going to do a CT conversion. Got the bar and studs, and I'm going to give it a new handle. I don't think the reel's worth a whole lot, you know, to be honest with you. Well, let's take it apart and see what's causing its problems here. It's kind of an unusual situation, honestly, for a Garcia. That instant anti-reverse bearing is pretty stout. So what may happen here is I'm probably going to take this reel apart and then have to order a anti-reverse bearing if it's that broken. I've got a couple here. I may be able to piece a good one together for it. We'll see what happens. Let's just get it apart right now, right? Okay. Get that little clip off the retainer off the handle there. You got this handle washer, pretty greasy. Back your drag off. This one's going to have the bearings in the spool. If it doesn't, we'll be real surprised. Yeah. That clip is supposed to be snapped onto that. The reel has a little bit of corrosion, not horrible. It's an instant anti-reverse, 5.3 to 1 ratio, 3 stainless steel bearings. Okay, so your spool is coming out with the cover. That's correct. So there's 2 of your bearings. We'll take that apart in a minute. This shaft was already loose because that clip unsnapped. Let's take a look at this thing. That gear pops off. The only thing I don't like about using these for CTs and use them for on the pier or on the beach is I don't have a bait clicker on it, so I may not convert it. It may just be a lot of talk about nothing here. I may end up just putting this reel back together and using it as is and maybe find a 6500. I've got a couple of 5500 frames over there. I could take a 6500 and because I like this size reel. Honestly, there's a shim in there. It's a wavy washer. It kind of puts a little bit of tension against that bearing to go up against this retainer plate. So there's everything off the spool. Okay, this is going to be fun. I know the problem's underneath here, so let's just dive in and see what it looks like. Take your 2 cover plate screws off. You know, y'all will probably get bored with Ambassadors with me, but I love these reels. I've caught a lot of fish on them, and I can't get away from them. And if I can't get away from them, y'all probably will get away from me unless you just don't watch the channel. I try to mix it up, but I really got a thing for these reels. Okay. Yeah, I think your problem there is it's just gummed up. That's good. We'll get to that. I may have to drive that bearing out of there. Not one of my favorite things to do. Anyway, you got, that shaft needs to go over there. You got the wavy washers. I don't think there's anything else. No, nothing else in there. Yeah, that bearing, I just need to drive it out and clean it good. I think it's just in dire need of a cleaning. They're really hard to clean in the reel. I can take them out of here and put them over in a ultrasonic, and it will make a brand new bearing out of that. It won't harm this type of bearing. A roller bearing like this, it will. This is a needle bearing, and because of the way the needles are in a cage, the ultrasonic won't beat them up so bad and ruin them. So I may try to press those out. Let's get on with the rest of it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Well, that just kind of all came out together. Wow. Gonna have to give it some help, I guess. All right, there's your sleeve, and the oval goes down. Standard operate SOP on a Ambassador. If it has instant anti-reverse on it. There's your sleeve. It's just dirty. Your base washer here is dirty. It probably wasn't even slipping at all anymore. You've got your press plate, your eared washer. There's another keyed washer. And they had this, somebody's been in here. Okay, let me show y'all something. It really irks me. People don't pay attention. Well, nah, we'll go with it. It's probably just the way it is. But when you get the new washers in from Carbon Tex, one washer is slightly smaller, and it goes underneath the top plate. Those look like they're the same size. They may be from the factory, like it. That's how they come from the factory. Alright. You got the spring plate, which is already trying to come off of there for some reason. And there's something I hadn't really noticed, but it's got like a little spring inside of there. You got your yoke. It just unsnaps. Take it easy, don't break anything. You got a washer down here. And I don't normally fool with these pieces here till I get it back from the water, because my ultrasonic will wash underneath these parts like new. It'll be like new when it gets done with it. So we'll set that over there. Going to come back to this. Let's take the palm plate off, and then we'll get to the level line. I haven't seen anybody make a kit where you can update these palm plates to use a bait clicker. I know the catfish guys would love to have a 5500 with a bait clicker. I know that it's just right, because you're usually not fishing super deep water for catfish. And I hear it all the time, I wish my 5500 had a bait clicker, but they don't. You can get the Royal Express in the 5500 size. I'm not sure what they call that particular model. Maybe it's a Royal Express 2 or 1, or I don't know. But it has a bait clicker. This one's got the gear. I'm not going to take it off yet because I don't know for sure if I'm going to make this a CT yet. But it's got the level line cog, gear, etc. on it. It's the one that takes the clip in it. Okay, and you slide that keeper out, and it was in there wrong. They go in like this. I don't know why somebody had it upside down, but whatever. Dirtiest part of the reel, always on these Garcias, always going to be the level line. It deserves the most attention when you go to clean one, because it catches all that crud coming off the water, you know. It's going to get everything just dripping off of it. If you pay attention, it'll just be, this stuff will just be dripping off of it. There's your pawl cap. No washers in the cap. No washer on the back of the pawl. Gear comes out. Tube comes out. There's your frame. You can, now let me do this first before I make a mess. You can pop that cover up, clean up under there. A little bit of corrosion there, nothing bad. So with that said and done, well, let's see what we can do here. I'm going to try to knock it anti-reverse bearing out. Put you something in there, it's like a socket about the same size. I'll try it with a light hammer first. Now, something to think about, folks, is remember how it goes in there, because you put it in there wrong, you got to press it back out and do it again. I think the numbers are on this side of it. Yeah, so on this one, because I don't see any numbers up in there, let's take a look at it. Yeah, so the numbers go down, and that would, oh, back up, John. Yeah, I don't see any numbers in there. So the numbers go down. If you put in there wrong, the reel, it will anti-reverse in the wrong direction. There you go. And that's how you knock an anti-reverse bearing out. We'll clean the housing. Put my block over there. That's all you really need is a socket. And I can take this and attempt to clean it up and see if it'll work again. I don't see any problems with it. It doesn't look broke to me. It just seems to be not working. It's gummed up. So what's happening is when you roll it one direction, the needle bearings are sliding over and they're not returning back. So that's the reel. I'm going to put this anti-reverse roller in the washer right now and see if I can't get it clean. And actually let me clean it good before I try to clean it and go from there with it. Clean off my cap here. I used it to bull some bearings the other day and I got some crud down in it, so let's clean this thing out good. Can't heat these up. That cage in there is plastic, folks, so if you try to heat that up, you will melt it and it's not worth anything at that point. Let that soak for just a little bit. Well, I'll bring you guys back when I get that bearing out of the washer, and we'll see if it's worth saving. Okay, I cleaned this reel up, and I'm going to attempt to show y'all how I would check this anti-reverse bearing. So I'm going to go ahead and put the sleeve on there the way it goes on with the D or the oval down. I'm not going to worry about putting everything together. And then I'm going to put the numbers on the bearing down and slide it on there. And I'm going to work it pretty seriously. See, now I probably didn't get that on frame. I've got the anti-reverse bearing slipped down over the sleeve. It's an instant anti-reverse. Anywhere you stop it, infinitely, it should lock up. And it is now. Remember before it was skipping. So I think this bearing's fine. I'm not going to order one. It's going to get oiled real good and get used. I've determined that this reel is going to be it's going to be used as for a CT conversion. For now, I'm going to use the 5500 plates, the CL3 plates. I may eventually get a set of 6500 plates and put on. I don't know. It's an awful nice frame, but it does have corrosion. That's the only reason why I'm just not going to really worry about it. It's got some pretty good corrosion on it. It's been used in salt water, I do believe. The whole reel has some corrosion here and there. The handle's also bent a little bit, so that's kind of disappointing, but I think it's just best to go ahead and use it for what I intended to use it for, and it'll be fine. The gears and everything were in good shape. Nothing nicked up. They all look pretty sharp. Everything's cleaned up now. There's a little bit of crud in there, but everything's cleaned up and just waiting on me to go out to the garage and do the CT conversion. I'm not gonna go through that with y'all. Y'all see me do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and make the conversion on the frame, and I'll show you all how to remove that gear off the cover. That gear, when you cut it off of there, it's still replaceable, folks. It's not the end of the world. But the ones that have the solid, they don't have an E-clip. It's got a solid plastic ring around right there at the top. You can't really get those out without destroying them. Now the ones that got the two teeth, you can kind of spread them with I made a tool. I made a tool here, and I might have showed this. It's a piece of brass tubing, and it actually slides down and it spreads those teeth, and you can pull the gear off. And but these here, you pretty much got to cut that gear off. But if you have to get another gear, you can get these gears, or you can trim that up good and just use a C-clip on it. So let's go ahead. Why not? Hope I can do this without cutting myself. I'm going to be real careful. You go around that gear with a sharp knife. You get it to where you're starting to, yeah. So this gear will be reusable, actually, folks. You see how I got it coming off of there? And then the whole gear comes off. And it's still reusable. And I probably scuffed up my my knife blade pretty good doing that. And it's a brand new knife blade, figures. Then you can clean. Oh gosh, there's some scum. Well, it's old grease is what it is. Really no big deal. You can clean that out. And you don't need that you don't need a level line with a CT conversion. There's no level line to drive. All these parts here, including this, are going to go into a bag, and I'll have them for if I get another reel in here that's messed up, I'll have the parts. There you go. So you can put that. Now you can put that on. Whoops, wrong cover. You can put that on that cover and then put the C-clip on. So it's still a usable gear. So it's not the end of the world. No harm, no foul. That's how they were intended to be done. You can see the corrosion on this reel, folks. It's not perfect. So I don't feel so bad. Even though it looks beautiful on the outside, I don't feel so bad kind of going at it here on the ends, tearing up the or changing things out about. It's going to be a nice little reel for what I intend to use it for. You see the corrosion on the cover. So I think I picked a good one, and I got it cheap. You don't want to cut into a really nice freaking reel, you know. Something I didn't mention, when you go to put the bearing in, there is a step in there. Let me see if I can clean it up. And you want that bearing to go right to the edge of that step. I don't know if y'all can see there's a step. You drive the bearing in from the bottom and you stop it at that little step right in there. You don't want it to go any higher, okay? And we'll do all that here in a little while. Let's get this bad boy soaking in the oil. Put it like just like that. All right, I'll bring you back when I get to the rest of the reel to modify it. Okay, I'm back. I've got this 5500 CL3, I think it was. Let's see, where is it at? I guess it's on this side. Yeah, CL3. Got it all cleaned up. I got the frame. I did the CT conversion. I told y'all was. That's all done. Crossbars in. Studs are in. So let's put a reel together. This side, okay, well, first things first. There's parts I'm not going to need. And I keep every part that I don't use because they're still usable parts. But I've got the tube. Don't need that. The level line guide. Don't need that. The keeper. Don't need that. The cap. Don't need that. I'll need the cog. I don't need the worm gear. I don't need the pawl. I don't need the drive gear, or level line cog, I guess they call it. Yep. And I took this off, of course. There's no top bar, so that's a spare part for one. And I think that's everything. I do have the bearings there, but I've got a separate container I keep my bearings in. So CT conversion's done, crossbar is in, studs are in. There is literally nothing to do to the end cap, so we're going to go ahead and put it on, or the palm pad, I'm sorry. So let's do that. And of course it just sits right on there. And there's 3 screws. I'm going to find a set of 6500 covers and use on this 5500 frame. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I want to have a bait clicker. This is just a, let's just put it together for now. I've got another frame I can stick these parts on. It was a prettier frame than this. It isn't silver, it's black, but it's a much prettier frame. It won't be a correct frame for the covers, but that's, yeah, it's a 5500. It's not, I don't see where it's worth a lot of money. I don't even know what CL3 actually means, number one. I can't seem to find any info on the internet about these different model numbers, the CA, UA, CL, I don't know what any of it means. I kind of know what the threes mean, or if it doesn't have a number at all, it's only a single or double bearing. It's all very confusing about these Garcias, so I don't know. I'm just learning as I go, folks. I would love to have a book or a website that's got all the different models listed on it. It'd be really sweet. It really would be. Okay, now I've got to put this anti-reverse bearing back in there. If you recall the numbers, And I don't know if you'll be able to pick this up on this cell phone camera I'm using, but there's the numbers, and they come in from the bottom. So this bearing is going to sit in there like that, and you kind of just you can pound it in there, but you kind of got to watch it. You don't want it to go. Now I'm going to use this. If this hammer is made for firearms repair, it's got a nylon end on one side, brass on the other. Use the nylon. And check it. And you don't want it to go past that step. It needs to really kind of go even with the step. If you need to go further, you can always put a socket in there and kind of hit that socket. Probably going to have to hold on to that. It's probably about, that's perfect. Got that just right. And there it is in there. I know it's in there right because I made sure that the numbers were to the bottom. Okay. Now, let's put this unit together. Also, I forgot to mention, I kept the top bar I cut down because at some point I'm going to chuck these in a lathe and I'm going to turn them down and cut them and put the little caps on that they sell, and not have to buy those CT studs, which are only like $10 for the studs, but that's a lot of money. So I'll put those in the bag also with the spare parts. There's going to be more spare parts to go in there in just a minute. Okay, here is the plate. We're going to have the pinion gear, which I missed a bunch of crud in there. Shame on me. This is why you always go back and double check your work. Sometimes you're tired from working all day and you do something like this and you make a little mistake. So now's the time to fix it, because that little bit of crud left in that tooth give a little bit of a skip or a rough spot in it or whatever. You don't want that. So let's lube the yoke up. I always put some grease down in there like that. The gear snaps in. The gear part goes up on the yoke, and if you don't know which is up and down, the yoke has bevels on it, and those bevels go back towards the jack plate, which is this, and it allows the jack plate to slide up and down in it. So the gear will go in the yoke like that. And it's a yoke, I guess they got that term from, mules that they use on the farm. They put a yoke around and put a team of mules in front of a plow. So it's kind of like that's what it does. It's a yoke. It helps this gear move up and down, in and out of being engaged with the spool. So, a little nomenclature thing there. And that will go on first. And I've already taken this plate apart and lubricated it. Okay. Let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. Okay. Next thing is this washer, this copper washer. Goes in and goes down. And then you're going to have this drive here, the shaft, oil for the shaft. I apologize for the noise in the background. That's my washer going. All right, let's put some some new drag washers in it. These are the Carbon Tex. Here's the part number. I think I ordered these from Carbon Tex, or Smooth Drag, I'm sorry. Nothing at all wrong with the factory drag washers on these Ambassadors. I'm just one of those people, I can't leave nothing alone. Sorry. I like to change everything. So I'm gonna keep the factory drag washers. Even got, I probably have 100 of them over there in my box. You never know. I'll keep them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're like brand new. And chances are, for 99% of the fishing you would do with this reel, there is nothing that those drags can't handle. So those will go in back into storage. So this is a instant anti-reverse reel, so it can take the little bit bigger washer down here. The one that has the anti-reverse dog, it has to take a little bit smaller washer down here on the bottom end, because the drag washer actually interferes with the anti-reverse and won't let it fully engage. And I have actually put the wrong drag stack on one before and had to go back and take it off and try to research and find the right stack. So that part number I just showed you, what'd they call it? Well, they don't really, see, that's the weird thing about smooth drag. They don't really give you a part number on these kits. But it's for the C3, C4 with instant anti-reverse, because not all C3s have instant anti-reverse. All right, we're going to lube up the gear. I've run into that on the C3s. You'll get some that have, I think I'm right when I say this. I'm pretty sure I got my memory correct. But you'll have some that has, look, I take that grease that goes around the outside, that tries to find its way outside the gear, because I'm a sloppy painter. And I don't want that grease to get on those drag washers. So I'm going to clean that off best I can. I'm not done with that. I'm just trying to get my hands where I can use them here. I'll get all that grease off. And yeah, I know I just put grease on that drag, but it's different. It's that cow's drag grease is different. So what was I saying here about the drags? About I had a C3 that had the bearings out in the, had the bearings in the cap and the bearing in the handle. No, I had a C3 that had the bearings in the spool, but had a regular bearing in the cover, not an instant anti-reverse bearing. So it did have the reverse pawl. It's so confusing. I just wish somebody would clarify all these different models and stuff for me. It blows my mind, folks. I don't know what to say. That's awful dry. It just soaked up everything I put on there. So you get a washer, a drag washer, keyed washer, another drag washer, eared washer. Make sure the ears get into the gear correctly. I didn't. Another drag washer. Now, some of the kits have a smaller washer that goes out here on the end that this plate goes over. But this one had, and that's why, because that press plate covers the whole drag washer. I've had some that has a smaller press plate. It takes a smaller washer on that outside edge. Now your spring plate, give it a little bit of grease there with the springs, and I oiled this I oiled this little bumper in here so it will work freely. And you want to make sure that tab on the spool release goes up on the back side of that bumper. I don't think it'll go together any other way. Now, this is where I have a discrepancy of the way it was put together. I don't know if I've got one. I don't know if I've got a schematic to look at. Let's just see how it goes here. It may be fine. Washers here. Well, I want to say when I took this one apart, the sleeve was in first. I don't think that's right. I'm just going to be honest with you. And those won't go, but they will go up there. All right, let's just do that. We'll see how it looks when I get the top on it. So put the sleeve in. These went on the outside. I've done them both ways. So, all right. I think we're ready to go together with the cover here. I should have printed off a schematic. I got it on my phone, but of course my phone is what's recording the video. There's a conundrum. Put that together. Yeah, I think that will work just fine. We'll put those on the outside. I think that's the way they were. You got 2 screws that go into the cover. When you push this cover down, make sure your spool release thumb switch, whatever you want to call it, thumb press is sticking out of the cover there. Of course, the ones that have the thumb bar, they got like a little peg sticking out of them that goes into the back of the cover over here, where you see all this. And you have to get all that lined up when you put it into the frame. Okay. Now let's put together this cap here. You'll want to put a little bit of oil on this spool shaft. Put it up in there. And this plastic piece, from all I've been able to tell and been told by people, it goes with the 2 tabs going down towards the spool, like that. I don't know. You tell me. The schematics don't show either way. This cap, spool tension cap, gets this washer, this shim, I'm sorry. It just goes down in there. A little bit of oil on it. And just thread it on there. You don't have to tighten it up real tight just yet. Okay? And this shaft is supposed to be retained to the cover. That way you can pull the reel down and the spool comes out with this side, and you put the new spool of line on, or after you fix your line, put it right back in there. It's just a lot easier to take the reel apart, put the reel back together. Your wavy washers are keyed, and they'll slide down, and you want them to oppose each other. So one's going to be cupped in like this, and the other one's going to be cupped in like that. Okay, and then a little bit of grease on the shaft. Put your star drag on. Sometimes you got to hold the handle shaft, or drive shaft, I think they call it. So far, so good. You get this washer like this. And now, before we build the spool, I'm going to put a new handle on it. And why, you ask? Well, I'm going to use this reel for surf fishing, and I want a handle that's a little bit easier to crank. I get a big fish on. And I'm not using this because I don't have the acorn nut, so that will go in my extra parts. So I will be using this. All right. One thing I like to do is spray these handles down. Believe it or not, this WD-40, as it dries, it leaves a protective coating on any metal surface. It looks wet right now, but by tomorrow that'll be dried off and it'll be good to go. You don't have to worry about the average salt spray getting on it or whatever. Go ahead and put the handle on, then put your clip on there, the E-clip. Sometimes you can put them on by hand. There we go, got it. Then your nut. Okay. Line the nut up. I think that'll be all right. And you put your new cap that comes with the handle, and you have to use the new cap. The old cap won't work for a couple reasons. One, some of them have these tabs, some don't, and the distance from there to the hole is different. This is shorter. The distance from the center of this to the center of that hole is shorter on this than it is on this. The same screw will work. You don't have to go find a new screw, just put your old screw back in it. You can get a new screw if you want something prettier than that, but it's not necessary. Okay. So far, so good. Very smooth. All right, let's do the spool. I've got new bearings for it. Nothing wrong with the old bearings. I'm just one of those people. Just likes to, I can't leave nothing alone. I buy a car, I say, yeah, I ain't gonna do nothing to it. Next thing I know, it's a hot rod. Or if I buy a Jeep and I say, I'm gonna leave this Jeep alone, next thing I know, it's ready to go all out rock bouncing, rock crawling. It's just, it's who I am. It doesn't say where these, it says no further cleaning required. I'm not going to oil them. I'm going to see how it goes without oiling them. So the bearing on this side just drops in. Just push it down in there, and then you got the cog that goes on there. Now remember, I'm not driving, I don't have a bait clicker or a level line, so that's not going to be used very much. Now I got this wavy washer that goes in on this side. Get in there now. Then your bearing, then your centrifugal weights. Now, these centrifugal weights will probably either one or both will get pulled off. And then you got to put your clip around there. I'll leave them on for now until I cast it the first time to see how they're going to do. When you put the spool up into the end plate, make sure those centrifugal weights do not push, don't stick out and get crunched between the spool and that ring that's up in there. Okay. And then Man, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. About done with this reel. No secret how much I love these Ambassadors, but I'll say it again and again and again. Something seems to be holding it apart there. Don't know what. Yeah, I had the spool tension turned in too far. Tighten it down. Tighten the thumb nuts down. Sometimes when you put those new studs in there, you kind of, they fight you a little bit to get started. First time you do them. I don't even think that one's getting started, honestly, because they're not always perpendicular, you know. I think I got it now. Don't want to cross thread it, so use your eyes and feels. Make sure you're not getting something cross threaded. Now your play, and I've probably gone through this every bait caster gone through that end play, adjust that to where you can barely feel it. Like that. That should be where it's at. Something don't want to act right, does it? What did I do wrong? Looks like we're going to be going back into it again. Well, you know, I don't edit anything, so you're gonna see my screw up, whatever I did, right here, right now. I don't believe in editing. I have other things to do with my life. So let's take it back apart and see where I messed up at. Definitely not actuating properly. Let's try not to have to go chasing after a E-clip tonight. Can't imagine what I would have got wrong on this, but we'll take a look at it and see if we can't figure it out. That will pop out just like that, and you kind of slide it to the side and just lift it off of there. Now we can take those two screws out. Well, we got the two washers. Go ahead and shake them out. We're going to hold everything together here. Well, it's working fine without the cover on. I don't see anything together wrong on it. Let's put the cover back on it. Who knows? Maybe something's just a little bit hung up on it. I'm gonna go to the Phillips head for these. Told you, I don't edit anything. If I make a mistake, I want to go back and show you what I made as a mistake, and we can fix it here, and maybe it'll save you from making the same mistake, you know. Go ahead and stick it all together here. It's kind of how the whole mechanic field is. You learn from your mistakes. Okay, the drag is slipping, that's why it's not. Okay, we got that. Let's put the whole thing together here. I don't really know what happened, other than it might have got hung up or something. I don't really know. Those fine threads. They really like to work against you, don't they? I'm being quiet because I'm sitting here thinking, what did I do wrong to cause that to happen? Typical mechanic, man. You're like, why? Don't think it was anything with this. Let's put this back together. Should go just like that. You know, it went together better that time. So the last time, remember, I had to fight it a little bit. Maybe I had something pinched. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see. We'll find out here. This shouldn't be rocket science, right? It's a fishing reel. Those new studs, I found every one of them I've gotten, the threads are just a little tight on. I'm sure they'll wear in. Let's seat the drag. That's a lot of drag. That's good. Let's adjust the spool. And it's still doing it, folks. Wait a minute. So something about when it's tightened down, you know what it is? It's the head on that CT, the CT stud I bought. is causing a problem. I may have the screws on the wrong side. Let's take a look at it and see. So here we go. I usually get it by the third time. If you watch my videos, you'll see the third time I take one apart, I usually get it right. I don't know if that's it or not, though. I don't think that's it, because that doesn't stick through there. Although it does stick through. Yeah, it does stick through there. I think that's where the problem is. When, yes, that's where the problem is. It's this screw on the CT cage. Maybe I've got them on the wrong side, so let's take it back apart. I don't read instructions, you know, why? We'll take it back apart and see what we got. I could have swore it took the countersunk screw on this side, but it's apparent that it does not. Or I may have the CT bar turned backwards and it doesn't have enough countersunk there to, which I think that is what I did wrong, actually. I didn't really pay attention to that, and I've done several of these already. But when I took it apart, they had the screws on the sides they were on for a reason. So let's take this apart. And I'm pretty sure that doesn't go. That doesn't go on that side because it won't go up into that hole. Let's see what this one looks like. I can't say if there's any difference in either side. Interesting. Very damn interesting. Of the 3 I've done so far, this is number 4 actually. I've not had this problem where that interfered with that, just about dropped it on the floor, didn't I? With the spool release. That's very interesting. I don't have the screws on the wrong side. See, that's not recessing down in there as far as the other ones I've had. So if you look at this, when you try to push that down, it's not letting me push it all the way down. It's hitting. I really don't know what to address to that other than file it down. You see what I'm doing? Just taking a file, hitting it. I shouldn't have to do this, honestly. And I don't really want to hit that frame with that file and give it a place to corrode. Nothing like modifying a modification. Yeah, it's not taking it down. So my next step, if this doesn't work, I'm probably going to have to take the screw back out and grind it. And then maybe even file the hole that it goes into a little bit, the hole in the frame, so it can recess down in there a little bit better. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to blow those metal shavings out. So the problem wasn't in the cover at all. The problem's in the CT conversion. Let's just put the 2 thumb screws on. I can get on quick. Look at there. All right. Now what's going on? Lord have mercy. The centrifugal weights are hitting. Because I'm putting it, there we go. I'm putting it together a little bit different how I would normally put it together. We got us a working reel, folks. So if you run into that problem, if you do a CT conversion, if you're like me and just can't leave a good reel alone, because I can hear people out there saying to the video, well, it's your own fault, you messed up a good reel. Yeah, well, anyway, you may have to file down the head of that CT, the solid bar screw that goes on the drive side, because that's what was interfering with the thumber. And let's see, it may still be messing with it. I don't know. I think I got it all in there pretty tight though. I got one more thumb screw to put on. See how it's getting better each time I put it on there. It's working those threads in pretty good. The other thing I might do is not tighten those down as far. Look at there. That was it. I like it. It's smooth. It's super smooth. Well, there it is. I'm going to save all these parts. I may use the handle on another one, so I'll leave that free, but I've got this cap. The bearings, there's all the parts I took off of. The bearings will go into my bearing box over there. This can go in there. Well, that was fun. Thanks for hanging in there with me. If you made it this far in the video, man, I really appreciate you, because you and I learned something together. Like I said, this is my third, actually this goes over here, my third CT conversion. I've not had that problem with it, with doing any of them. So my plan is to get a set of 6,500 end plates, end caps, and so I have a bait clicker. And I got a plan for this reel. But man, those drags really work good. Good grief. And I still got drag to go. That's pretty impressive. They're very smooth. You remember the anti-reverse wasn't working when I started this video? I took that bearing out. I cleaned it good. I lubricated it good. And it is infinite, just like it should be. It'll be fine for now on. Keep the lubricants fresh in this thing. This is a reel that will last through my lifetime and my kids and everybody else. So anyway, this is John, the Vintage Fisherman. Thanks for watching the video, please like it if you would. Subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in any of the fishing reels, this one's not going to be for sale. But I do sell fishing reels on my eBay account. It's called The Vintage Fisherman #1, just 1 at the end. The Vintage Fisherman 1. And I got a few reels out there for sale now. I go through everything I sell unless otherwise noted. Every reel I got for sale has been gone through, made as perfect as I can get it, and ready to fish. Thanks for watching. Talk to y'all later.